a notorious phantom thief, Nine-Tailed Cat, has struck again, stealing valuable jewels from a Hamaterasu Corporation exhibit. The peacekeepers publicly claim an arrest is imminent, but behind the scenes, they remain clueless about the elusive thief's methods, frustrating those who seek true justice in the city. A nine-tailed cat is a local legend, a Robin Hood-esque figure who steals from the wealthy Hamaterasu and donates the proceeds to facilities in need. This has made the thief incredibly popular among the citizens, who see them as a hero standing up against the corrupt corporation and its inept peacekeepers. Detective Desuhiko Thunderbolt expresses immense frustration over the thief's fame. As a self-proclaimed superstar detective, he is outraged that the nine-tailed cat receives all the public attention while his own supposed charisma goes unrecognized. His pride is wounded, and he vows to capture the thief himself. The agency's chief advises Desuhiko to drop the case as they haven't been officially hired to pursue the cat. He warns that the phantom thief is a formidable opponent who has consistently outsmarted the peacekeepers. However, Desuhiko, driven by ego, refuses to listen and decides to act alone. Determined to catch the thief, Desuhiko begins his investigation by gathering information from the town's women. He uses his flirtatious personality to collect rumors and descriptions of the nine-tailed cat, hoping to piece together a clear picture of his rival's identity and appearance. During his questioning, Desuhiko learns various details about the phantom thief. One woman describes the cat as tall, while another fan simply expresses admiration for their coolness. These fragmented and sometimes contradictory accounts begin to form a vague public image of the mysterious criminal. A key piece of information emerges from a rumor. The nine-tailed cat is supposedly a young man. This detail adds a new layer to Desuhiko's investigation, giving him a more concrete, albeit potentially misleading, profile to work with as he continues to build his case against the popular thief. Another rumor suggests the thief has distinct features, burning red hair and eyes. However, this is tempered by the fact that the thief always wears a hood, making these features difficult to confirm. This information becomes the most outstanding clue Desuhiko has gathered so far in his pursuit. Compiling the information, Desuhiko settles on a description: a young tall man with red hair and eyes. However, he recalls seeing the thief at the art gallery and notes a discrepancy. The figure he saw didn't seem tall. He dismisses this inconsistency, deciding to proceed with his plan. Desuhiko crafts a disguise based on the public's perception of the nine-tailed cat. Planning to impersonate the thief to draw the real one out, his initial idea is to commit a fake theft, but he realizes the flaw in this plan. Instead, he decides to manipulate the thief's public image. At the art gallery, Desuhiko puts his plan into motion. He addresses the gathered crowd, declaring his intention to end the nine-tailed cat's legend. He aims to create a public spectacle, knowing the real thief, who relies on a pristine reputation, will be forced to respond to the challenge. Desuhiko announces to the public that he has successfully captured the nine-tailed cat. As proof, he presents the Virgo ring, the thief's supposed target, confirming it is safe. This clever ruse is designed to draw the real thief out of hiding by publicly humiliating them. The trap is sprung. Desuhiko confronts an individual disguised as himself, exposing them as the nine-tailed cat. It is later revealed this captured thief is actually his own chief in a complex disguise, a pawn in Desuhiko's elaborate scheme to tarnish the real thief's reputation and pride. Following his apparent success, a newspaper reporter named Anin arrives to interview Desuhiko. Flattered by the attention, he readily agrees, seeing it as his long-awaited moment in the spotlight. He is completely unaware that this interview is part of the real thief's counterplan. During the interview, Desuhiko boasts about his disguise abilities and belittles the nine-tailed cat's skills. He confidently shares details about the supposed capture, unknowingly feeding information to his adversary and digging himself into a deeper hole with every arrogant statement he makes. The interview takes a sharp turn when Anin asks about a secret message on the Virgo ring, which she then produces. Desuhiko is caught off guard as he was supposed to have returned it. His lie about forgetting to give it back exposes his attempt to keep the valuable jewel for himself. The reporter reveals her true identity. She is the real nine-tailed cat. She explains that the red-haired man Desuhiko captured was his own chief, and the entire public spectacle was a farce. She orchestrated the interview to expose Desuhiko's greed and reclaim the stolen ring from him. Just as the thief believes she is won, Desuhiko reveals his final gambit. The ring she holds is a fake. He has the real one. He explains that his entire plan was a trap to lure her out. Knowing she couldn't resist protecting her reputation, he has successfully cornered his rival. Instead of turning her over to the peacekeepers, Desuhiko, captivated by her cunning, makes a shocking marriage proposal. In the ensuing confusion, the nine-tailed cat stuns him and escapes with the real ring. Though defeated in love, Desuhiko's scheme ultimately concludes with a strange victory. In a final twist, the nine-tailed cat mysteriously returns the Virgo ring, leaving it on a public statue. While Desuhiko failed to capture her or win her heart, his actions inadvertently led to the return of the stolen property, closing the case in a bizarrely successful manner. A new case begins as a man falls from a nearby building. Detective Fubuki Clockford, believing it's her lucky day, rushes to the scene. The man utters a final word, 3, before passing away. Fubuki, with her unique ability, sees this as a dying message she must decipher. Using her forte to rewind time, Fubuki tries to save the man again. This time, he survives slightly longer, and his dying message changes to 2. This strange inconsistency deepens the mystery, as the message seems to change with each timeline alteration, suggesting a more complex clue. On her third attempt, Fubuki manages to cushion the man's fall with a car, and he survives, though he falls into a coma. Before losing consciousness, his message changes once more to 1. The countdown-like nature of the messages, 3, 2, 1, becomes the central puzzle of the investigation. Back at the agency, Fubuki, Desuhiko, and Hilara brainstorm the meaning of the changing message. They deduce the victim must have been holding a die, and the number he saw changed depending on the angle he viewed it from as he lay injured. This theory connects the incident to the casino on the building's 4th floor. The team refines their theory about the die. They conclude that the victim, an employee of the crooked casino, was likely silenced by his employers. In his final moments, he tried to use the die to expose the casino as the culprit behind his fall, reading aloud whichever number was visible to him. With a solid theory but no physical evidence, the team feels stuck. Hilara provides a cryptic clue, suggesting they question the fortune teller Fubuki met earlier. This leads them to a new path, hoping the fortune teller can provide the missing link to prove the casino's illegal activities. Fubuki and Desuhiko confront the fortune teller, who confesses to being a shill for the casino. She confirms they use scams, like fake lucky numbers, to lure in and cheat customers. She also reveals the victim was a hired plant, likely silenced after making a mistake. As Fubuki and Desuhiko prepare to rashly confront the casino, Hilara intervenes. Knowing a direct approach is foolish, she devises a more cunning plan. She proposes to challenge the casino owner to a high-stakes game, using their own methods against them to expose their corruption. Hilara confronts the owner, betting a massive sum of chips on a simple dice game. The first to roll a 7 wins. The stakes are high. If the detectives lose, they drop the case, but if they win, the owner must confess his crimes. Fubuki is chosen to roll the dice for their team. The game begins, and the owner immediately rolls a 7. Fubuki uses her time rewind ability to reset the outcome. This happens again on the second attempt, confirming Hilara's suspicion that the owner is cheating with rigged dice. They now must find a way to counter this unfair advantage. Hilara formulates a new plan. While Desuhiko creates a distraction by spilling water, Hilara subtly tampers with the owner's dice, neutralizing his ability to cheat. Now, the game relies on Fubuki's ability to roll a 7 legitimately, placing the fate of the case squarely in her hands. In a climactic roll, Fubuki successfully gets a 7, winning the game. The stunned owner, unable to comprehend how he lost with his rigged dice, is defeated. Hilara reveals his cheating, and with the bet won, the casino's criminal enterprise is exposed, and justice for the victim is secured. Chief Yakou and Hilara receive a new client, Tetra. Her father, a wealthy medical device company owner, was found dead, drowned, with his head in a fish tank. The peacekeepers ruled it an accident, but Tetra is convinced it was murder, citing the ransacked room and smashed tanks as evidence. Hilara begins her investigation of the crime scene, a room filled with shattered fish tanks. She notices several key clues: tape residue on the doorframe, a strange horizontal stain on the walls, and blue paint scraped onto a vent. These details suggest a far more complex event than a simple accident. Tetra recounts discovering her father's body after their dog Sugar barked at the door. She and her fiancé Jaren provide an alibi, stating they were together in the living room during the estimated time of death and heard nothing, despite the noise required to smash multiple thick glass tanks. Using her post-cognition ability, Hilara observes the crime scene as it was when the body was discovered. She confirms the victim's entire body was soaked, not just his upper half, and notices a dead fish in the veranda drain, clues that contradict the official story of the incident. Hilara presents her pivotal discovery. It's impossible for the victim to have drowned in a fish tank that was already smashed and empty. This logical contradiction proves the death was a murder staged to look like an accident, and the smashed tanks were part of a cover-up. Despite Jaren having a seemingly airtight alibi, Hilara suspects him. Background checks reveal he was in debt, mooching off Tetra, and had been denied money by her father. This establishes a strong financial motive for murder, prompting Hilara to devise a trick to bypass his alibi. Hilara reveals the elaborate murder method. The killer drugged the victim, sealed the room with tape, and used a rubber hose connected to rigged rain gutters to flood the entire room with rainwater. This allowed the victim to be drowned remotely, while the killer maintained a perfect alibi elsewhere in the house. The smashed tanks, Hilara explains, were a desperate attempt to drain the water and hide the flooding evidence after the murder. The killer then removed the sealing tape and drained the remaining water, leaving dead fish in the veranda drain. The entire setup was a calculated alibi trick. Hilara confronts Jaren, accusing him of the murder. As final proof, she uses the rubber hose found by the dog Sugar. The dog's reaction to the scent on the hose confirms it was Jaren who handled it, breaking his facade and leading to his violent, panicked confession. A new story begins with Vivia Twilight, a detective perpetually contemplating death, trapped in a stopped elevator. He is with a woman named Rio, and their conversation drifts toward the nature of life, fear, and mortality. The setting is a building notorious for a string of suicides. Vivia is tasked by the chief to investigate the series of suspicious deaths at the building. It's rumored a woman in a red raincoat is connected to the incidents. Vivia, though uninterested in the truth, is intrigued by her and decides to follow, leading him to the mysterious building. Vivia confronts Rio, accusing her of being the serial killer who lures people to the building to their deaths. He notes her faint smell of death. Rio, in turn, observes that Vivia possesses a similar aura, a life force so faint it seems on the verge of disappearing entirely. Rio denies being a killer, claiming she is merely present when people with a death wish arrive on their own. The conversation reveals a key piece of information about Vivia's own abilities. He has always been able to see and communicate with the dead, a power that has exhausted him throughout his life. Vivia reveals a stunning truth he has deduced. Rio is a ghost. She was the first person to die in the building, and now her spirit lingers. She has been stopping the elevator not to harm people, but in a futile attempt to talk them out of ending their own lives. As the elevator reaches the roof, the spirits of those who died there appear, drawn to Vivia's life force. In a final, shocking twist, Vivia reveals he too is a ghost, having used his forte to astrally project his spirit. This makes him immune to the other ghost's influence. Chief Yakou arrives on the roof, having run up the stairs searching frantically for Vivia. Seeing someone cares so deeply for him serves as a turning point. It shows Vivia he has a place to return to, a connection to the world of the living that he had chosen to ignore. The final story flashes back to a younger Chief Yakou. His detective agency is failing and his partners are leaving, feeling that private detectives are obsolete in a city controlled by Amaterasu. He is left alone, facing eviction and despair, clinging to his childhood dream of protecting the town. Desperate for money, Yakou accepts a lucrative job from a shady client to find a woman who works for Amaterasu Corporation. The $1,000,000 reward is enough to save his agency, and he immediately sets out to find the target, putting aside his misgivings about the client. Yakou finds the woman, a brilliant researcher. She explains that the client is likely a rival trying to forcefully recruit her for her groundbreaking work in regenerative medicine. She loves her hometown and doesn't want to leave, appealing to Yakou's sense of duty as a fellow citizen. Torn between his desperate need for money and his principles, Yakou chooses to protect the woman. Just as he decides, they are attacked by armed men, confirming the headhunting was a violent abduction plot. Yakou stands his ground, ready to defend her and his town. After Yakou protects her, the researcher offers him a job as her personal bodyguard. This act of choosing his duty over a massive payout, even when he had lost everything, reaffirms his identity as a detective. This moment solidifies his path and forges a crucial alliance for the future.